Hello, this is Ambassador Terry Earthwind-Nichols, author of People Come First, the New Business Model. Here with me and my fellow authors, my wife and business partner, Linda Vettrus-Nichols, behavioral scientist, Jenny Landgren. Jenny is also the author of Choosing Unity Starts With Us. And John Chappelear is following the suit with The Daily Six. Joining us from Scotland is Mike Stevenson. Mike, great to have you along with us. He has just authored and released Let's Reimagine the World Together. Soft Power is the New Hard Edge. Welcome, Mike.
I'm delighted to be here amongst this group of stalwarts.
I've heard tell that there's some trigger wording that you quite understand. Mike, won't you tell us about some trigger wording?
When it comes to customer
service, yes.
Yeah, well, customer service to me is something that is natural to people. I do not believe you can train someone in customer service. All you can do is introduce a whole series of protocols and rules and behavioral models. But, you know, I discovered good customer service when I was very young because I had the confidence to relate to people in my own way. I brought my own personality. I was working down south, so I brought this, at the time, very broad Scottish accent to a Southern English customer base. And no one complained. They liked it. I had fun with them. I used humor. And I got pulled up for it, for being too, what was the word? Too familiar with the customers. And then I thought, what on earth is customer service about if it's not familiarity, if it's not building relationships? And by the way, I had a very high success rate and people would come back again and again. So my take on this is, if you try and set out rules for customer service, you are, in a sense, denying people the agency to offer their own personality in the ring. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. You can get brilliant customer service, for example, if you are changing your mobile phone from one company to another. See, after the sale, you can't get through to anyone. So the idea customer service is a universal concept in some of these big companies is a complete myth. Customer service is part of selling. It's not part of customer relations. And I'm going to take it a wee bit further than that, because I think I was asked to do customer service training recently for a friend of mine who's got retail outlets. And I said, no, because you can't train people in customer service. All you can do is lay out a series of rules. I said, the best thing you can do, and I help you to do this, is to release them, to be creative and to create their own kind of culture. What do we want people to feel when they walk through our doors? What do we want people to experience? You know, how do we bring our own personalities into the game? And people came up with so many ideas. It was extraordinary. It was like the whole energy in the room had changed because customer service then became about them and how they wanted people to feel and how they would want to feel if they were walking into a shop. So I believe, controversially, that, you know, this whole idea of customer service, all the books that have been written, it's all bunkum. Customer service, the best way to get it from your people is to give them good customer service. In other words, you're an employee. We value you. Your personality matters here. You bring something to the table. Rather than setting down a rule book which tells them how to deal with customers, you can't tell someone to smile. They've either got a smiling disposition or they're not. And actually, someone with a sense of humor, to me, is just as good as someone that smiles. And someone that says hello with a sincere offering in their heart offers something to me more than just customer service. So I believe customer service is just relationship building, and we must release people to do that. Because if they're part of a hierarchy that devalues them, don't expect them to value the customer. Does that make sense? Or am I being a a complete irrational maniac from Scotland with a dwarf mind.
Sorry.
That obviously has something to say, huh?
You're deranged in a dwarf mind. So, but let me just say one thing, because it was really important that what Mike said about customer service. To me, customer service is a part of the brand. More than almost anything else. It's a part of marketing. It's the other end of the sale process. It's the returning customer relationship ongoing process.
Yes.
I can guarantee you that once a client gets something, if they, like Mike said, if they can't get a hold of you again, it's like, what the heck? The thing has always astounded me, and this may be a bad example, but the thing that's always astounded me is Amazon's ability to do this. I mean, I have no idea how many orders go through their processing plan every day. But if I need to get something returned, it goes back the same day. And if I take it and drop it at a UPS store, I get a credit before I'm home. And if I need to send in something, or it actually gets to the point where it's crazy enough, I can actually get somebody at least in a text to fix something. Just happened a couple of weeks ago. They said, well, just keep it. We'll just give you credit. That was the end of it. And guess what? The next day I was back on the phone, I was back online ordering something else. They took all the fear out of ordering. And that's, to me, customer service is, and like Mike said, no rules. My thinking is, what's the vision you want for the customer experience when they hang up the phone? That's what, not during the process or anything else. It's like what I say when somebody asks me if I'll come and do a keynote. It's like, how would you like your people to feel when I'm finished? And it's the same thing with customer service. How would you like to have the clients feel when they're finished? Frustrated, angry? None of those words seem to fit, but I guarantee you, a lot of companies, if you call them up tomorrow, you're going to hang up anxious, frustrated, fearful, in many, many ways. And it's going to be the good thing is, to be good at this is not that hard, because almost everybody's bad at this. So if you just become reasonably good at this, you're going to look like a king or a queen. It's going to be amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. But that's my US problem.
It's interesting about Amazon, because Amazon bought Zappos. Remember Zappos? They were the first online retail giant in the States. And it was a young Asian man who owned Zappos. And he lived in a trailer park, which immediately gave me an affection towards him. But after they'd been online for a while, he said, we've got to put a phone number on the top of our website, because people still want to speak to people. Mm-hmm. And that was really important, because you can have all the right words on the website during the negotiation. Thank you for your custom, and you get an email. But when something goes wrong, you want to speak to someone. And he recalls a 9-hour conversation between someone at Zappos and a customer. It was an older woman who lived in some remote part of the States. And by the time the telephone call finished, her parcel had arrived from Zappos. I think it's a great story. So people want answers. They want to feel valued, and they want things delivered. It's not too much to ask, and they want to know what happens when the shoe doesn't fit. Not what happens when the shoe does fit, because that's what you expect. So, John, you're absolutely right. It is. We've got brilliant customer service at the sales pitch end, but when it goes down the chain, you lose some of that, and the numbers of lines available to phone up are very, very limited. And sometimes the customer care line shuts at 6 o'clock at night, whereas a sales line is always open. So I reject, the notion of customer service for that. I think customer service is humans with humans, and you don't have to teach unless you're employing a sociopath. They would soon be found out if they were deliberately, winding people up and planning to murder them. You'd probably soon find out. But customer service is the most human thing imaginable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was trained the customer is always right. And so having that in my head, it was like, okay, so if the customer's always right, you're not going to argue with the customer. You're going to, as Jenny Landgren says, stay curious, ask questions, find out more, and see if you can resolve the problem. How do you feel about that, Mike? The customer's always right.
When we say the customer's always right, what you mean is what the customer wants and needs is what you have to fulfill. But if a customer is blatantly wrong about something, they're wrong. What you don't say is, you're wrong, I'm going to pull you up on that. What you do is you guide them round to the truth, But the idea that every customer is right is again preposterous. And if you say that to someone who's young, starting out in an industry, and the customer says something outrageously, nonsensically untrue, don't expect that young person to say, oh yes, they were right because they were a customer. It's one of these irrationalities that's crept into our language. It's not that the customer's always right. It's that the customer's needs come very high up your priorities. But if that customer wants you to go through hoops and, perform an act in front of them, then, you might not want to go that far. Customer's not always right. It's an untruth, in fact.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm with you. Let's hear from the behavioral scientist in the room, Jenny Landgren. Jenny, hop in.
Happy to. I'm going to tie the knots. So, as John and Mike are saying, people will always remember how you made them feel. And like Linda and Mike are now discussing, sometimes you need to even set boundaries with your customers. And sometimes it's the time to say no, because that's just how it is. And the reason why this is so hard, and the reason why people will remember how you made them feel, is because there are actually two levels to our communication. So theoretically, there's always the task level, which is the message that you're sharing, the words that you're using. But then always in every message, we are sharing with the people around us expectations on them, or how we see them as human beings. If someone walks into my office, before I even open my mouth, the way that I look at them or the way that I approach them is going to make them feel something about how I see them.
Yep.
So when we understand this, we realize that it is actually possible to say no and set boundaries on the task level, but to say yes to the human being. And even in situations when we say no, we can have people walking out feeling amazing about themselves and recognizing the opportunities. Isn't that right, Mike?
I love that, Jenny. I'm going to slip in here real quick because in high-end training, you never say the word no to the customer. And that drives me crazy. I just want to know. I'll ask a question and I just want the yes or the no. And they'll give me anything but, and it sends me to the moon. And then Terry reminds me, well, in high-end training, that's what they're trained to do. And it's just like, oh, right? It goes along with the customer's always right in my mind.
It's if I can tell you that in hospitals up and down this country, this is the United Kingdom, and on the railways, and at almost every public service point, there is a message not to abuse or attack the staff, right? So that's setting a boundary to the customer. And in hospitals, nurses and sisters and doctors get attacked all the time. They're sometimes dealing with a very irrational patient. And of course, people's expectation in a hospital goes sky high. They ask for the impossible. You've got to save him. You've got to save him. And sometimes these things can't be done. So in that sense, the whole customer is always right thing goes out the window. And when you have to set boundaries, as Jenny said, there are rules for customers. There are boundaries beyond which customers can't go. And when you're having to warn customers not to attack your staff, it shows that the whole notion of customer relations has broken down somewhere. And we really have to restore it to the most basic of human understandings. Make people feel how you want to feel yourself. And it's simple. And, you've got to feel sorry for people in the health service, I mean, they are facing some of the most stressful situations. And then they've got relatives shouting at them on the other side. And, where does customer service come in that situation?
On point. It's I have been watching some docuseries on YouTube lately, and a couple of three of them that I've watched and very much enjoyed is very high-end hotels and restaurants, the best in the world, and they are trained never say no, deflect, move them anywhere you want, but don't say no, and they pay for it sometimes because they don't care. You're not giving them what they want. They attack. And usually it's face to face. Okay. And so that becomes every bit as stressful for the recipient as it does for the sender. Right. But I think we're on the right track here. Is there, there's such a thing as decorum. There's such a thing as being polite to another human being. Get your problem out, get it addressed as best as you feel is necessary, and allow them to come up with some answers rather than just continuously interrupt and throw something else in. That's just not acceptable behavior on either side of the telephone. And, at the end of the day, that person has to go home and pray that everybody at home had a good day so they don't have to hear more, But a lot of people don't stop to think about that, During the COVID pandemic, there was a lot of healthcare workers who just committed suicide. They couldn't handle being at work all day long and coming home and hearing it again, right? And they just gave up, and that's past, and it happened a lot. So
you're not shaming the families, though.
No, not at all. But a lot of times, we just don't take a breath and go for somebody because it makes us feel better. Well, what about them? There's two sides of the coin. There's both sides of the telephone call, etc. And we get to, as customers, understand that as well. And John's point about Amazon, they are amazing. It's like, boom, it's done. They've really put the competition. They've stepped ahead. They don't have competition. Okay.
Right.
They have very large PR firms attacking them for every little thing that they can to belittle them, so that their competitors can look better in the customer's eye. But they're doing a really good job overall, John.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. They do an amazingly good job. I mean, based on, the size of the company is mind-boggling. And the frequency and the order volume is absolutely mind-boggling. They have a distribution center here in town that's 1 million square feet, and that's like one of 20. So it's just amazing. And the thing about customer service with me, and this is one of the reasons, and I don't mean this to be, well, actually I do mean this to be a self-serving plug. This is why when I wrote the Daily Six, the idea was to have a simple set of principles that you could apply in almost any situation that might help you stay calm and balanced regardless of what's going on around you. And that's hard to do. Take it from me. I was, ready, fire, aim for years and years and years. And I was always smarter and better and quicker and faster than you. And so let me prove that. And that's how a lot of people in business get in a lot of trouble, because they're trying to prove that they are right. And I had a friend of mine once say, well, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? And that was a question that sort of set me back on my heels a little bit, because especially with customer service, I work with two different groups that are one is in hospitals. I work with a lot of nurses and nursing systems to teach them how to coach and support each other, so that at the end of the day, they don't feel like they've been beaten up by patients and beaten up by the doctors, and they've sort of been this buffer in between getting pounded on all day. And the other one is a program for 911 workers. That's our emergency call here in the US is 911. And, these people sit at a phone all day long and take nothing but traumatic calls all day long. But if they can think about ways to take some of the pressure off during the day, go outside, take a few deep breaths, recenter yourself, make sure that you're being loving to yourself as well as to the people who call. Let the anger and resentments of what's gone before just go away and leave you in peace so that you can answer the phone the next time, or you can deal with the next patient or the next client or whatever the next one is. Because, if I'm dragging this person's resentment and anger into this person's need, I'll never get to the bottom that I need to get to solve their issues, because I'll be, I'll show this person if I, whatever I needed to not say in the other one, I'll make sure I get it across this time. And that, you were talking about going home and hoping the people at home, aren't going to throw you out the window. And you can't do that. You can't bring that home. I mean, I used to joke about the fact, why people get frustrated and angry at home is because they can't get fired at home. So, it's so they bring all this resentment home with them and then explode with the family. And you have to have a process to be able to defuse these issues so that on the way home, you can take some time and do some thoughtful release of anger and frustrations and anxiety. And if you can have a simple process for that, you can actually accomplish a great deal in a very short period of time with practice. It just takes a little bit of time to get where you want it to be. But it is absolutely attainable, but it also requires practicing it.
It is a lot of inner work for all of us, and for leaders and people in service. What comes to me as you're sharing, John, is that we choose what we receive.
Mm-hmm.
And when we realize that we're out there and we're facing people and so much is out of our control, how people will react or respond. But when we recognize that we always have that choice in what we receive, we are able to reclaim that power, and we don't really need to be that garbage bag that we may feel like at some days.
Right.
And that's just really a relief to think on. And the other thing that came to me is, what was that? I was so overwhelmed when I walked into this conversation. Let me jump back in. Mike, what's coming in for you? And I'll be right on it.
Mike, you're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I hope we didn't overwhelm you.
No, you didn't my kids overwhelmed me. You're Go ahead. I'll be right with you.
Talking about Amazon, I mean, Amazon now has created a situation where shops are going to have to be very different, because what's going to turn you from just flicking a switch on your computer and getting something delivered within 24 hours, or going to a shop where you enter someone else's premises and you have an interaction? Well, they're going to have to create experiences in shops that transcend the whole interaction with Amazon. So it's putting up all kinds of challenges. Now, in the end, when you are paid low wages and you're inevitably the customer interfacing person, because they're the ones that are paid the least amount of money in almost all industries, if you don't have a share in that company, any kind of share, if you don't have a stake in its success, if you're not rewarded for its success, where's the incentive to, get customers to come back and to buy perhaps a bit more and to put that extra effort in? I mean, we really do have to think the restructure of some companies. That John Lewis in this country it's the John Lewis Partnership, and it's traditionally its staff are shareholders, so they get dividends. And the difference there was palpable, because everyone had a stake in the company doing well. So, you know, it's not that it was a more upmarket store. It's not that their training was particularly much better. It's just that they had a stake in the relationship with the customer, that they had a pride in it. And that pride can come from someone doing a low-paid job, it's true. I always took pride no matter where I was, because it was my personal integrity that was at stake. But why should people go the extra mile when they're just part of a brutalist system of employment where they're just a cog in the wheel? And I mean, Amazon have had to improve their conditions quite dramatically in recent months, because, you know, people at Amazon were saying that we have to go to the toilet at particular times of the day. I mean, heavens, I wouldn't last a bloody day. Not at my age. Toilet breaks are assigned. You know what I mean? So if you're going to get people to be the agents of your company, the agents of your brand, then the brand has to include them. They have to feel that they're representatives of the brand and they've got a stake in its success. And you can't just do that by telling them what to say and what to do. That's my view. Back to Jenny.
Yes, thank you, Mike. The second, I'm just going to jump right back into my train of thought. And the second I was going for in reclaiming our power is that it's really about our intentions. In customer service, if my intention is to be right, then I'm going to walk home and feel like I lost. My intention is going to show the goal and whether I reach that or not. But if I shift that and I decide that my intention is to understand, my intention is to connect, and my intention is to do my best, then I will recognize that no matter the outcome, there will be success. And that's just another relief and another way of mindset and self-caring in doing this work. And for me, my clients are my customers. So in coaching, that's so much about leadership. And we all know that leadership is about leading people the way they need to be led. So it is all about the listening.
Well, now, what a conversation.
Ladies
and gentlemen, for those of you
the curiosity.
Sorry?
She's got lag.
She froze. She's muted.
It must be
Okay,
freezing.
so it looks like
She's
we're going
back.
to draw this into an ending. Customer service, is that what we really need? Well, I think it is. And you know, when you have somebody, ladies and gentlemen, who's nice on the other end of the phone, be nice to them. You know, the reciprocity gets you a whole lot more than attack and divide. So let's take care of that person that's on the phone there, whatever they're doing, wherever they are. Even if you're person to person, standing at the front desk, you know, they're there to help you, but they're not there to take your blows, right? And we all get to be just nice people, right? That's really what it gets down to, is being nice people. I'd like to thank my co-hosts and co-authors for this first of a series that we're going to be doing here in the next few weeks. And ladies and gentlemen, leave your comments when you get the chance to watch this live later on. And for those of you who are watching it today live, thank you for doing so. And that'll be it for this time. We'll see you in a week or two. Bye-bye for now.